All right, we are live and ready to go. So let's go ahead and invite Sam to join us. I don't know if you guys noticed, got a new facial jewelry right now. My first time ever having eyeglasses. So this is going to be it's a whole new world. It's the best day of my life now that I'm in the eyeglass arena. So let me go ahead and bring Sam Litrico on. Let's see if we can add her to this awesome conversation. And it's going to be great. And there she is.
Hello, hello.
Hello, friend.
Nice new look, Mike.
Dude, are you just saying that? Because I'm not sure if I'm there yet. I think I look smarter, right?
Nothing wrong with a little variety. You gotta switch it up sometimes.
But there's actually lenses. I found out that I have a stigmatism in my eyes, and I didn't realize that. So now I have,
the joys of getting older.
That's what happens, I guess. So I am super pumped to explore this conversation. This is way long overdue. Sam, you submitted this story. This story was submitted back in, I don't even know, probably
2015, I think.
Yeah, probably 2015. So we're talking, approaching 4 years that you submitted the story, and we haven't had a conversation about it since. So I think this is long overdue, and I'm really pumped for the convo. So thanks for accepting my invitation to have this conversation. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say. And I know there's a lot of really awesome things happening for you outside of just the story right now, obviously we'll hit on launching the new book. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
The whole movement of Time for a Change, and super exciting to, ordered my copy. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end, but I am very interested in, I'm sure everyone's really interested to talk a little bit about that elephant that's in the room. And I want to use this space to kind of speak the unspoken. I think everyone, I wouldn't say everyone. I think a lot of people think certain things and they come up with their own story in their head about what they perceive is the truth. And Chris, I don't know if you can see the comments. Chris Harman says, "Can't wait for the book." So
thank you, Christopher. You're in the book, so you better get it.
So I want to use this opportunity, Sam, to speak the unspoken. And I know you speak the unspoken very often, and I'm gonna ask questions that maybe others maybe won't ask, or maybe it's borderline presumptuous. But you really put a lot in this book about you as a kid and how you were raised, and I think a lot of credit goes to your parents, especially the conversation with the no limits conversation with dad, and you positioning yourself to do whatever you want to do. And I love this, and it's really filled with so much great juice. And I want to kind of spend the start here of like, let's just dive in of Sam Litrico, your parents, from your parents' lens. Forget about your lens. I'm sure you asked your parents this question. When they found out that when did they find out that you were going to be born with cerebral palsy? At what point in time did they know that before birth, or was that a conversation that you had with your parents? I'm like I said, I'm just going to dive right in. I want to speak the unspoken because it's such a beautiful chapter you wrote here.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And just so you know, I know that you gave me a little prompt of what some of your questions would be, and I started to put a little thought into that, but I was like, you know what? I really want to approach this with an open heart and open mind. I don't want to really prepare because I just want to be authentic and I want to be real. So I'm ready for whatever you have to say or whatever you want to ask, because I think that if I approach it from that place, hopefully I can reach more people that way. And I think that's the objective of this.
Yep.
So in terms of my parents, when did they find out I was going to be special? Well, I was born 2 months premature. So I believe, it was right at birth that they obviously knew something was a little bit off, because I spent several months, I believe, before they could ever take me home, in the ICU, right? I guess during that process, they didn't really know what the issue was. They just knew that I needed that intensive care And then I think by the time that I was around age, 10 months to a year, I think that's when I was officially diagnosed with the label of cerebral palsy.
Mm. So that label, what does that label actually mean? And I know there's politically correct, there's impolitically correct, there's the word special, there's pimp cane. I've heard wheelchair bound. I've heard crutch. I've heard physical limitation. I've heard handicap. I mean, there's so many words that can describe, um, and it's almost like because it's like an unspoken.
Mm-hmm.
How do we ever know what to say? So therefore, people just don't say anything.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, to be quite frank, I think that the doctors and society have their own definition of what cerebral palsy means, and I have my own definition of what it means. And in
So what
truth,
are
I
both of
think that
them?
I think they're vastly different. So I guess I don't know. Doctors have all sorts of fancy terminology that they use to explain what cerebral palsy is. I don't really pay much attention, to be honest, because I didn't go to medical school. And, to be honest, there's a wide spectrum, right? And how somebody can be affected with this condition to the point where for some, they can't even walk, right? They can't even talk. They're low functioning, so affected developmentally, right? And then there are others who I think have just a very light limp to where it's barely even noticeable. And then I would say myself, being somewhere, in between. So that's, I think, what the doctors would say. And then my definition, I mean, to be honest, I think that people can look at it from the outside and, as you say, have their perceptions and think, oh gosh, that must be like so challenging to be in that body and live that life. But the reality is, everybody, I don't like get to try out a different body on the weekends. This is my life, and I've been doing it now for 28 years. And so, that being said, I've just learned to like adapt and make life work. And so, to me, I think that it's something that has made me a stronger and better person, and definitely more compassionate and, tuned into the thoughts, the needs of other people that I maybe otherwise wouldn't have had in terms of, this particular gift. So that's just my particular perspective on the
Mm.
challenge that I choose to have. So.
Now, I love the mature 28-year-old response. What would the 6-year-old to 8-year-old Samantha say? The one that saw these other little kids. The only reason why I really bring this up because I would bet that there's not many people that are courageous enough to speak openly as you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to meet a woman, and I remember I spoke, told you about this. She's a speaker. She, goes on cruises and talks about this, and she speaks openly. But I didn't have a rapport with her. But I was so curious that I'd never even like asked some of these questions. And reading your chapter of how open you were, and talking about this, I mean, I just remember as a kid, when I was like early 20s when you started selling Cutco, and I just remember just Matt King saying us walking a block is like Sam walking 4 miles uphill or something like that. And I just think in my mind of little kids, anything that's different, they don't have a filter.
Right.
In a lot of cases, at least. And I read in your chapter, the normal 7-year-old you use quote unquote normal. Talk to us about that experience as young Sam, and the conversation with your dad, and like that kind of time frame of 7-year-old Sam.
Well, I think that I had been very blessed to grow up with a family that had gone to the ends of the earth, right, to do everything they could to be supportive, emotionally and also financially, right, by providing the best therapies, the best procedures, the best doctors, to help facilitate opportunities so that I could grow and to develop into who I've become. And I don't think that if it wasn't for those things, like I wouldn't be able to get to where I am. So that being said, they really instilled me, I think, with a mentality at a young age of like, can do it, right? No matter what. And like, we're going to find a way around obstacles, right? So for that, I'm really grateful. That being said, you're right, Mike. Of course, it wasn't always easy. And I think that, truthfully, that is the most challenging aspect of cerebral palsy. It's not the physical component, it's really the mental component that goes along with it. And growing up as a child, especially in my teens, the comparison between, other girls and what social media says is beautiful and what everybody's supposed to look like, and feeling like I didn't always, measure up to that. I think that component of things and what other people were perceiving of me was really the hardest part of the challenge. But when I look back, on the things that I overcame at such a young age, I realized that, I developed a lot of bravery and inner strength and courage. And, I look back and I guess I'm proud of that.
Yeah. Where and at what age was it with gymnastics? So it was early, like right, 6, 7 years old is when you kind of
Okay, so
fell in
I
love with
was I
gymnastics.
was literally obsessed with the gymnastics. I'm just letting everybody know, anybody who watches this video, had I been given a different body, I would have won the Olympics. I'm not playing around. So I would watch the 96 gold medal Olympics. I watched it like 12,000 times. So I was obsessed. And, my parents would take me to the gym, like just so I could literally like watch the other girls. And I used to fantasize and dream that could be me one day. So that being said, there was a class that they had put me into that was for, like, I don't know what you would call it, special needs or whatever. And I had a private coach that would help me with a spot. And it was something that I think was really helpful, just to find a passion in something that was really important to me. Not necessarily that I was good at because it was physical, but it was still really important to me. And I think finding a passion is something that can be really helpful in overcoming challenge.
And they even helped you perform some tricks, right?
I did. I did like several backflips actually. Yeah, I don't think I could still do it now, but
Well, now you're old. You're 28, so
I know, dude. I'm getting up there.
yeah, you are getting up there. You're gonna need glasses soon. So, uh,
I do have glasses, dude.
oh, all right.
Already there.
Already there. You're screwed then. It's all downhill from here. But I really love that. I mean, so you had this spirit of go get it, let me make it happen. You had these surgeries from a young age. So between these surgeries at a young age to the gymnastics, and saying like I'm not normal physically, but I'm also not normal up here either, like mentally or emotionally or spiritually. So it's like, what would you say to someone that does start comparing themselves to the social media, that starts getting down on themselves and feeling different or feeling inadequate and feeling less beautiful because of their physical body or emotional feeling less about themselves? What would you say to those people, especially the early teens, not the mature 28-year-olds like you are right now, speaking to the younger, the 8-year-old version of you to the 16-year-old version of you?
I so love this question. You're like right at the heart of everything that I'm so passionate about, as far as like why I really want to share my story and why I want to help people, because I really want to go back and be able to help young girls that are at that age where I know that I was struggling the most, and be able to share my life wisdom, right? And the things that I know now that I wish I knew then, so that I could help someone else avoid the kind of pain that I think I oftentimes self-inflicted. So truthfully, I believe that like everybody is made, in a perfect image and for a reason, and for a purpose. And so whatever that means for that particular person, however they look, they're supposed to look. And the reality is everybody has their own challenges. They just kind of show up differently, right? So for some, it's going to be physical. For some, it's going to be a situation. For some, it's going to be a relationship. But everybody has challenges. So there's no point in comparing, because everybody's on their own journey, and it's really about becoming the best version of you in the process.
Yeah. And what's interesting is social media is like the commercial. It's like
Right.
everything's perfect. Everyone individually posts the highlights of their life.
Right.
And
Only
we
the
all know,
positive.
and we all know we post the highlights of our life. I know I post the highlights, you post your highlights, everyone posts their highlights. But when we see other people's highlights, we're like, ooh, my highlights aren't as good as theirs, or
Right.
my low moments aren't as good as their high ones, or whatever it is. And we start measuring. And when we go through this measuring, again, it could create one of two feelings, a feeling of inadequacy, like I'm not good enough, or a feeling of, what would be the opposite? Opposite of would be arrogance, right? A feeling of arrogance of like, I'm so much better than everyone. So it's like, anytime we compare, I think John Maxwell said it best. Anytime we compare to someone else, we're either going to feel a feeling of inadequate or disappointment, or we're going to feel a feeling of arrogance or overconfidence, because
Totally.
there's nothing in between. So the only thing to compare ourselves to is who we were yesterday and how
Right.
can we be better today or tomorrow. And it's like, that's all the comparison is. So I really love that. And you went from this, for those that are just tuning in, we're talking Sam Litrico's chapter right here, chapter 15. My Elephant in the Room. So this is Sam. She wrote the story for Real Stories, Real People, the original book. This is one of the first stories ever submitted back in like 2015. So we're finally having a long overdue conversation here. So you had this passion for gymnastics in the, early stages of life. You started learning how to do backflips and stuff. You got able to do some tricks. And then that kind of turned into theater at some point, is what you put in your chapter, right? What
Absolutely.
talk to us about that transition from gymnastics to theater?
I think it was kind of actually around the same time frame. I mean, I loved theater from the time that I was 6 until, I mean, now I still love theater. My ambition, I thought that I was going to be on Broadway. At least that's what I wanted. But see, I don't sing. I can act, but I don't sing. So that kind of would hold me back there. But I loved theater and performing, actually. I was a part of a community arts ensemble. So from the time that I was about 8 years old until 14, there was this ridiculously amazing guy that would open up to the community, and it was completely free. His name was Fred Johnson, and he'd put on this musical with like 100 people or more, and by the end of the summer, it would be all put together, and there was a lot of really neat opportunities and doors that opened through that in terms of like leading roles that I had the opportunity to have, and that really helped stimulate my passion. And I think it was just the idea of being able to be on stage and just be somebody else for a while and transform myself, I guess, to a different state. But I just absolutely loved it, and it's something that I miss and really want to get back into, honestly.
So if there's someone younger that's watching this, and if I'm hearing you right, could you agree with this? And this is just a question, that by acting and positioning yourself to like be that another version of you allowed you to almost like find better versions of you through the process of acting, or through the process of doing this hobby or this interest. Could there
Yeah.
be any truth to that?
Yeah, I could see that. And I think it was just developing this sense of, you know what, I think I found something that not only do I enjoy it, but I feel good at it. And I think that
Mm.
that's something when you're young and you're doubting yourself and you're comparing yourself to others, if you find something that you feel that you're good at, it can really help boost confidence. And I think that that's a huge component to being able to overcome all those like thoughts and demons that swirl around in our brains. So.
Yeah. Because and the reason why I like to talk about specifically the young version of you, and because we all have that component. We all have this innocent young version of us component that we don't really visit or talk about or talk to. And for us to talk about like young kids, realistically, we're talking to the 30-year-old that's watching this, the 13-year-old version of themselves that they haven't revisited or addressed in so many years, that they just kind of suppressed. They got older in age, but really never really handled that 13-year-old dilemma that they never really took care of. And or not even dilemma, but that situation. And that's what we're talking about here, is because you found this passion through acting, but there might be a 30-year-old listening to this that's never found that passion. They just kept getting older and just numbing it.
Right.
Um, and I think some of the kids that are watching this, to find something that they're passionate about, whether it be acting or be a sport or something along those lines, and just go for it. What if they feel inadequate? What if they feel like they're incapable? What if they feel like maybe you had a moment of like, oh no, I have, did you have a cane at this point in time when you were doing theater, or were you in the wheelchair, or?
Actually, I've made some progressions in my life. So when I was, I guess from the time 8 to 12, maybe, like there was a time that I actually used a walker, then I
Okay.
did 2 canes, and then I graduated to one. So I've kind of had a
So you were
variety going there.
acting with a walker or acting with a cane or the two canes?
I think at that point, when I'm talking about the community arts ensemble, I think at that point I had the one cane, I think.
So was there a piece of you, or could there be a piece of someone else that says, I don't know if I'm gonna be good at this because of this cane. Like, what am I gonna be able to do? I don't sing, I'm not good at singing, but I want to perform, but what are people gonna think of me with this while I'm wheeling around this cane, the only person?
Did I think like that? Are you asking me that?
Sure.
I mean, sure. I'm sure I had thoughts like that crossed my mind. I think when I was younger, honestly, though, I had such a just freaking resilience to be like, whatever. Like, I wasn't even in tune with the opinions or thoughts of other people. I think until like my teenage years, I feel like that's when I really started to get more in my head. Before that, when I was younger, I was just like a brave soul, and I like just
Mm.
didn't care what people thought. So it wasn't until my teens and that whole comparison thing came into the picture did I really start thinking about the opinions of other people and letting that get in the way.
And this is going back, even your teens were 15 years ago, or so.
I'm so
So,
old.
so old. So this girl right here, this fired up, passionate, girl, the girl that is sitting in this video right now, super pumped up, excited. Now we're getting to the good stuff. So I thought maybe it was early in life, but really now we're talking about it was more of that teenage year where some of those low energy emotions kind of started hitting. I'm very interested in hearing a little bit about that. Talk to, what were some of those feelings and what created them, and how did you get through any of them? So what were some of those feelings in those early teens, or that mid-teenage range, and how did you get through them? Did you have someone in your life? Did you have something show up? Did you start reading books, or how'd you kind of get through some of those low energy emotions?
I would say it was definitely just like inadequacy, fear, sadness. I mean, and just a lot of just negativity. I think that we all experience in our life, that we all have in common, right? Despite whatever our challenges have been. I think what created that probably at the time was circle of influence, and that's how I learned like later in life after 18 and joining the knife job and being around so many people that were focused on positivity and personal growth, that I realized like how important like who you surround yourself with. It makes a difference in how you think. It makes a difference in how you feel about yourself, the choices that you make. So honestly, around my teens, I think that was a huge component of it is that I hung out with the wrong crowd and people that were making bad decisions, and I just didn't freaking like myself at the time. When
Mm.
you don't like yourself, you don't really have high standards for the choices that you're making, or you don't really think about, okay, if I make this decision, how is this going to impact my life in 3 years? Like, you don't really care about that because, in truth, when you're in your teens, you've got this like little tunnel, and that's all you can see, and there's nothing bigger or better than the current BS that's right in front of you.
Mm.
So like to go back to honestly, this is just on my heart, like what you were saying earlier about what you would want to say, right, to young teens if you could. What do you really want to share? Is that, and I try to get this across to my mentee that I work with as well. She's in an incarcerated facility right now, and she's 16 years old. So it's like the perfect age to go back and try to share things that
Mm.
I wish somebody had told me. And it's like your current circumstances and everything that you're going through right now is not your freaking final destination. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to define you. The things that have happened to you, like they don't have to define you either, and you can start from where you are and you can create something better. And I wish, somebody had taken the time to tell me that, at
Yeah.
that age. So
Yeah, that's huge. And the reason why is because many of them don't believe in themselves, and they also aren't surrounding around people that pour belief into them, and they think what is in front of them, that's all that is.
hmm
It's
it's
like
huge.
you talk about the knife job. It's like a rep goes out and does 2 knife appointments, and they have 2 no sales. They think, oh, if 2 people didn't buy, that means everyone's not going to
Right.
buy. Where it's like, it's only 2. It's that's it. There's so much more of an opportunity that's in front of them, but they can't see past that current emotional situation that's in front of them right now.
It's huge. And I think I want to make sure I do answer all your questions and I don't just go off on a tangent. So you also asked, I believe, what was, I guess, the catalyst or helped me turn the corner. And I honestly do believe that the knife job, believe it or not, was a huge, component of that. And again, just being in a better circle of influence, being around people that were focused on growth and finding something that I did become really good at. It helped boost my confidence a lot. But also, I think I got to a place where I realized, like, the decisions that I was making, like, they weren't working, and I was
Hmm.
starting to hurt some of the people in my life that I loved as a result. And it's kind of like when you hit rock, there's a saying, right? You hit rock bottom, and there's no place to go but up. So it's kind of like, okay, got to do something different because what I've been doing isn't working. So I
Yeah.
think it was a collaboration of a lot of different things.
And you started selling Cutco at 18.
I did. Just like
So
you, right?
yeah, just like me. So that was 10 years ago now, and it's cool. I mean, obviously, you created a great opportunity for yourself within Cutco and the Cutco community and Vector and running your own business. So those that don't know about like the knife job or Cutco or Vector marketing, I mean, just to kind of call it what it is, you were able to work your way up from a brand new sales rep and then sell enough Cutco to earn a promotion to be an assistant manager to coach other people. Then you earn enough credibility to open up your own headquarters as a student, and then a second time open up a headquarters and run these businesses, which is really, really incredible to be able to have the chance to do within your late teens and early 20s. During that process, you're talking to the 18 to 22-year-old, right? You're in college at this point, right? So you're a college kid. You still have cerebral palsy, but now you're working in sales and you're in the business arena where it's, I mean, yes, circle of influence is important, but some people think the business arena is tough. People say sales is hard. It's cutthroat. It's like, it's emotionally draining. And, a lot of the stereotypes that have to go with the business world, or it's not safe. It's
hmm
challenging, like all these stereotypes and all these stigmas, which some of them are true, but you're 18 to 22. What did you gain from that experience as a college kid? Because you do have your degree. You went to, St. Leo, right?
I did.
And what's your degree in?
I have psychology and marketing, both.
And did that in 5 years?
No, 4.
4. So 2 degrees in 4 years.
Well,
Yeah.
one was a minor, so okay, let's not overshoot.
Still pretty amazing. So a bachelor's and a minor, and you did the knife job through this process. So talk to me about like that chapter of your life, the 18 to 22-year-old chapter of your life. What did you start learning about Sam during this process of being in sales and being in the business world? And for those that are just tuning in again, the chapter of the book is My Elephant in the Room, and it's with Sam Litrico. Fantastic story. It's in the Real Stories, Real People Grab Tomorrow series. You can get it, for free pretty much anywhere. It's also on Amazon, and all proceeds go to feed the homeless. We've now fed like 74,000 people just through all donations. So we'll talk about that a little bit after. But I mean, for those that are just tuning in, Sam is absolutely fantastic. Overcame some, the physical challenges, but she didn't know anything different. She's like, this is who I am. I don't have another body on the weekends. This is just who I am. And then said, I'm going to be a gymnast, and did some cool backflip tricks. And she's like, I'm going to be a theater Broadway performer, and acted for several years. And then she went into business, and now we're at the 18 to 22-year-old version of Sam Litrico as the knife sales rep, Cutco, college student, entrepreneur. And now the question is, what were some of the lessons that you learned about yourself during that chapter of life?
Man, I am so grateful for the Cutco experience. I cannot imagine, honestly, like what life would be like had I not gotten that letter in the mail. I mean, there's so many things that I learned from just how to present myself with confidence, how to really effectively build rapport, right? Going into these customers' houses and learning how to actually hold a, good conversation with a house mom is huge because the skill of building rapport, I found, now that I've left Cutco, I mean, that's a skill. It doesn't matter what you do in life, right? Everything involves working with people, and being able to have that soft skill of knowing how to really build a relationship and connect is huge, and serves in so many ways and so many platforms. So I'm really grateful for that. I'm also, I think the biggest thing that the Cutco experience taught me, honestly, is just the power of persistence, right? And resilience, and like not giving up on goals. So for those of you that are obviously in the Cutco world, you already know about that. And if you're not, like, we would have these, what we would call a push period, where we would work hard, right, for 2.5 weeks, and we'd set goals to sell a lot of knives. And just the idea of putting a why behind a goal, of why it was so important, and sharing with everybody, and working early morning to late at night, and just proving what was possible, I think is something that's been big, because I've always been very motivated by, I guess I've had this sense of feeling like I need to prove myself,
Mm.
to prove that I'm capable. And so through the knife job opportunity, I felt that I was able to prove that I could do it and succeed. And like, for the first time in my life, I actually felt like I was on an equal playing ground as everybody else around me. And
Mm.
again, it just really did a lot for my confidence. And then to get to the place where I was privileged enough to be able to take the things that I learned and share it with other people. I mean, I'm sure you'd agree, Mike, because you're an extraordinary leader, and but there's such a great feeling behind being able to take what you know and actually give that gift to somebody else. It's so cool. And I learned that how much I love leadership, how much I love impacting other people, and teaching and coaching and sharing what I know.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, because kind of like what you said, what you're doing with a 16-year-old, it's like you force yourself to you push yourself intentionally, like intentional challenge, in order to grow to a higher capacity. And then it's not just selfish, it's like, I grow in order to give more to other people.
Right,
And
it's
that's
huge.
and that's what you've been able to do as a community leader. And since Cutco, it's not like that stops. Now you're at the mature 20s, and you've gone through some Dale Carnegie training. You're now an author of your new book. You're doing coaching. You're traveling and influencing more than just Cutco people. Now you were doing that for your early 20s and late teens, and now you're taking that into the late 20s and creating a brand for yourself. Why don't you talk to us about what is Sam Litrico up to now? I mean, obviously, um, many people know the name and some people don't. Like, what is it that you're up to now? What is it that you're doing with all these life lessons you've been gifted with, during these last 28 years of your life, and from your parents, from your mentors, from your customers, from the mentees, all the things you've been able to learn for the last, couple of decades? What are you doing with that information now?
Yeah, and this may seem a really broad way to answer the question, but at the same time, I don't want to put any sort of cap on it or make it specific. I just feel called on my heart by a higher power and purpose. Like, when I pray into, like, basically, why am I on the planet, and was I given this body, and how am I supposed to use my knowledge, my wisdom, and my gifts what's the best way for me to do that? You know, moving forward, this is my like consistent, I guess, prayer that I put out there, and typically what I get back is leading. So any opportunities that I can get to lead, teach, help others in like literally any capacity, I would do it. Writing, I love to write, right? So I do have the new book project that Ashley and I just released that we're really excited about, and I do, you know, have ambitions of probably this year writing, you know, my own book, you know, as well. It's just something that I really enjoy, and I feel like it's a great outlet for getting a message out. And then also speaking. I love to speak. Mike and I, we share that similar passion. So there's many ways that I've been doing that through my church, you know, as well as the incarcerated youth facility that I've been going to. I speak to those girls often. I, you know, have connections at my church to, you know, work with our special needs group, you know, as well. That's definitely a platform, or I guess audience, if you will, that I'm really passionate about, is working with families with special needs. So being able to share my messages, I think, with youth, young girls, families with special needs, and anybody that wants to listen, I guess.
And it's really beautiful to hear you, because we're going back a couple of years. You know, when I sent you a random text, was like, hey, why don't you join me at you know, this event, the Speaking Empire event. And I don't even know, what was that, maybe 2016, maybe?
Probably, maybe, yeah. 2016,
maybe
that sounds
2016.
right.
So I was like, yeah, why don't you come? You know, we'll see. And you're like, I don't know. Like, that's like, I'll go. Of course, I'm going to learn. But then as we were there, it was like, oh my God, this information is like information overload. But it was really cool to see you just kind of like own a lot of what you were learning and saying, you know, this is great content for me to create a brand for myself. I don't know what that brand's going to look like. I know we had that conversation of like, who's your target audience? You know, who is it that, you know, you want to really be able to support and guide and coach? Because like, I want everyone, whoever's going to listen to me. But you started getting a little bit more of a niche, which is great. And to now you see put the book project, and to partner up with an ally of someone who thinks like you, and supports you, and like a sisterhood, which is absolutely fantastic. And I love that. I love what you've been able to build just in just a couple of years, you know, 2.5 years, which is really beautiful. So kudos to you on that. And
Thank you.
And now Dale Carnegie certified as far as speaker, and Toastmasters, right, as well.
Oh, I love Toastmasters. Yes.
Yeah. So as far as if someone's listening to this and they say, you know, Sam, I'd really like to partner with you on something. I'd like to, you know, bring you in. I'd like to have you speak to our organization, or I'd like to have you speak to, you know, or, you know, have a conversation with this young person or whatever. What would be the best way for someone to get in contact with you if they wanted to?
Great question. We can do Facebook here because you're connected to this video that you're watching. We can also have you go to our Time for Change page. That way you can check out the book project, and that's on Facebook as well. You know, also email.
Is your email still the one that you put in here?
Well, I don't know what is it.
Sam.Litrico214 at Yahoo.
Yeah, I do still have that old school email. So yes, I can be reached there.
All right. That's good. That's great. So yeah,
I was just glad it wasn't my St. Leo email, because I don't use that one anymore.
Yeah. I really appreciate, you know, just your willingness to be vulnerable, and just so excited to have the opportunity to know you and see what you've been up to over these last couple of years. And it's really beautiful to see you take the gifts that you have been given and willing to share that with other people. So as far as right now, this book, tell us about Time for a Change. Tell us about this book that's just launched this week and is now released. So by the way, I had the honor and the privilege of writing the foreword for the book, and I was so honored. I was like, oh wow, I'm like a celebrity, you know. I get to, like, you know, be a part of something, which is really beautiful. And I loved it. And I loved all the exercises. I love the content. And of course, I have so much love for you and Ashley to see what you two young ladies are willing to give back because I'm very similar in that sense. It's like if we have gifts to give, why not offer them to the world? So tell us a little bit about Time for a Change. Tell us about the book. Tell us where people can get it, why they should get it, why they should check it out. A little bit about the movement. Why don't you plug all that right now?
Sure. Well, we definitely appreciate your contribution to the book. Honestly, the forward made us cry a little bit. You got us in the feels, so we appreciate your support. You've definitely been someone, I think, that's set the example for really following a passion and what that can look like, and it really inspired both Ashley and I through the process. So we are grateful. That being said,
Thank
so
you.
I guess if I was to ask anybody, on this watching this, this is kind of my elevator pitch, if you will. It's like, what's most important to you, right, in your life? Most people are going to come up with a list of who, right, is most important in their life and not necessarily what. Right? Even if you could be a social butterfly, and even if you're not, we all have relationships in our life that are important, right? Whether it's our family, whether it's our friends, the people that we work with, our significant other, people that have influenced us in our lives. And I think that we have a natural tendency at times to procrastinate or like put things off and say, oh, you know what, it's okay. Like, I have tomorrow to spend time with this person or things of that nature. And essentially the whole purpose of this guidebook, the mission of it, is to say, like, why are we waiting? Like, why are we waiting till a natural disaster or somebody is really sick to say that, oh, I should probably take initiative to grant forgiveness? Why do we wait? Right? Why don't we take the time to do what we can to make great relationships even better? And if there are ones that need fixing, somebody has to be the one to say, this isn't okay and we need to make a change. Somebody's got to be willing to take the lead and step up and want to make things better in a relationship. So it's broken up into those categories that I referenced earlier, so that ideally, no matter what background you come from or your life, there's going to be one category that's going to be relevant for you. Right? And then within these categories, there are a series of challenge activities that we're asking you as the reader to complete. So it's based on using your time wisely, so going out and spending quality time, right, with the person, really being intentional with that time. The second challenge is always acting with kindness, right? So doing something kind, right? And then the third is leaving nothing important unsaid, which just really centers around either verbally or taking the time to write out appreciation. And essentially it's not meant to be just something that you read, right, and then you put down and then you're done. It's actually something kind of like Mike's book, in that you're going to be able to journal in it, right? And you actually can target the specific people in your life that you do want to improve these, your relationships with, and why, and what it could actually do for their relationship. And I think that there will be people that pick up the guide, and maybe you're like Ashley and I, and you're like, heck yeah, I'm going to do all of it. I'm going to go all out. Some people, you're probably just going to pick like 2 to 3 categories that work for you. And then I know there's going to be some people that are like, oh, I'm going to skim through and I'm going to see if I'm in any of these pictures, right? But there is content in the beginning that we are really excited about, that would bring value, I think, to just about anybody, right? Because it's really centered around, okay, how do I become a better communicator? How can I take the time in my relationships to actually stop thinking about my damn self and my feelings, and how can I see things from this person's point of view, all right? And bringing to our attention that when we do that, oftentimes in our relationships, it can diffuse arguments and create less tension, opportunities for forgiveness, right? So keys on communication. We also have some cool tools for how to actually express and show genuine appreciation. We talk about, too, what really causes relationships to fail, right? Not just romantic relationships, but in general, what really holds us back. Also, what creates opportunities for relationships to really flourish and grow. So, that's just to give you a little seed plant. So, really, I think you could just skim through it, and hopefully there would be something of value for everybody. That being said, it is officially on Amazon. So what I can do is in the
Yeah, in
comments,
the
I'll go
comments,
ahead and
post a
post a
link for
link.
sure.
For sure, and I think we're already at like 50 copies on our first day, which is really exciting.
It's
So
very exciting.
anybody that wants to join the mission, please do let us know that you've accepted the challenge. One thing that Ashley and I are very committed to doing is following up with anybody that does help support, because we do want to hear from you. You know, it is meant to be a mission, you know, and a way of life, a way of being more intentional with how we treat people moving forward. So we want to create a community like Mike has with Grab, to where everybody can share their experiences. So we definitely want to hear from you, and we'll appreciate the support.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, it's really cool being on the receiving end of that. You know, I got a thank you note from Patrick Herrick, and it's really cool just to like get thank yous and you know, random thank you cards, and it's fun because I like giving them. You know, like I love John Israel's mission, and giving thank yous and just making sure I express my appreciation. You know, I have my little station here, and you know, we accepted John Israel's Mr. Thank You Challenge, and it aligns with it. It's like, why wait to give gratitude, or, you know, express, you know, feelings to someone, and when they're sick, when it's too late, when they're already, you know, when the relationship is already hurt. Like, why wait? So I love the mission. I love what you're accomplishing there, and it's really beautiful. And as far as the Grab community, we are doing that 30-day challenge. I think I'm going to do it longer than 30 days as far as the thank you challenge. So it kind of aligns with the Time for a Change challenge. There's so many ways,
Absolutely.
excuse me, to give gratitude. And in fact, I got a random, because it's under the umbrella, I got a random picture months ago with a note that says, "Don't guess who this is, but I appreciate you." And, you know, to this day, no one has unveiled who it was. And it's like little random gifts, random thank yous, you know, even from secret people to public people. Like, it's just give, you know, just give. And that's really the message that we're going to, not give to get something. There's no string attached. There's no like hook at the end of it. It's like, just give, because when you do so, it makes the other person feel valid. And what's interesting enough, even if you don't intentionally give to get something, you end up getting something anyway. So like, remove the hook and just give, and you'll see that you'll receive so much more. So it's such a beautiful message, Sam. Make sure you post the link in the comments so people can check out the book. Post a link to your Facebook page in case they want to you know, follow you there. And Sam Litrico, I had a woman last month. I'm really bad. I'm mad that I forgot her name, so hopefully she's not, you know, mad at me right now. But she was super nice. I just met her for PB&J Feeding Frenzy, and she is a camp counselor for special needs, and she had one of her students that went to FSU and cerebral palsy and had like this whole thing. So I gave her a copy of the book, and, you know, folded your chapter. I was like, you have to put these two connect and make them connected. So as soon as I find out that person, I hope she's not watching. She's so
that
nice.
Might be a minor detail that we need.
Yeah. I'll find a way to remember and make that connection. So thanks again for your time. That takes us right about that time frame, and I appreciate you, Sam. So thank you. Enjoy your night, and congratulations again on the new book.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. It's been awesome.
Cool. Bye.
All right,
So
bye.
for everyone else, that was Sam Litrico, my elephant in the room, and you could follow her on Facebook, Time for a Change. And again, all of the proceeds from this book and from every Grab Tomorrow book goes to PB&J for now USA. It was PB&J for Tampa Bay, but we've now expanded and grown to California, Arizona, Nebraska, Texas, you know, all over the place. It's really cool. So we're at just under 74,000 meals. Our mission is to expand to, we locally in Clearwater area, we do one every single month, once a month, usually the third Sunday, 9 a.m. I do it at my Cucco office. random people come, bring supplies, bring donations, make sandwiches, and then distribute them to the local shelters in the park. So just from doing that, we're at, like I said, over 70,000 meals that we've made. And thanks to Bobby Lewis and the Channel 10 News team for helping us get the story and spread the word. We want to expand to other organizations, other offices, local businesses, churches, whatever, in any city. Our goal is 100 cities across the United States that will do a feeding frenzy once a month, make 500 sandwiches. It's super simple, and distribute them. We do that. That's 600,000 meals a year that we'll get a chance to make. And my mission within the next 10 years is to get that accomplished and get that going, so I could provide through this small little mission over 1 million meals within the first 10 years of PB&J. So pretty exciting, pretty big goals, and it's really fun either way to make a difference, but also get members of the community together towards a common goal, which is to create a positive change in our local community. So if you enjoyed this conversation, join us on Monday. We'll have another conversation at 4:30 with Pat Gabamonte, and he'll talk a little bit about some of the lessons that he was able to learn from his grandfather. It's going to be a great conversation. I'm looking forward to it. So thanks for tuning in. Real stories, real people. These conversations have been fantastic. So have a fantastic night.